All right, I think we're rolling. What's going on, everybody? It's Blaze over here, Blue Chip Athletic Club podcast, and I'm stoked to have Gordon Holloway, the real father figure, on here today. Real quick before we get rolling, I want to shout out our partners over at First Form. Thanks for working with us. We're not going to belabor that too much, but I want to make sure we give them a quick shout out, and then we're going to get going with Gordy here. So, man, tell me a little bit origin story. You can go back as far as you want. Tell people kind of who you are and what you're about.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. First podcast for me, so pretty psyched about that. Listened to a couple of your episodes on my run this morning, so I'm feeling like I'm getting intertwined in the Blue Chip Athletic podcast. So I'm pretty pumped. Let's see, to make it consolidated. I'm very in line with some of the background that you have going on. I am also in the Coast Guard. I do not fly though. I do finance for the Coast Guard currently, located down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Let's see. I also was on a couple of cutters and then went back, got my MBA, and then did a finance tour, and I've kind of been finance ever since. I am married. I have 1 2-year-old, and here in a week we're going to have another one. Not a 2-year-old, but we're going to have another baby.
I was going to say that's impressive.
Family. And so we're very excited. We're nervous, but we're excited. Some new beginnings, especially with the toddler finally getting a sibling. So we're stoked.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, for sure. So Gordy graduated a couple years before me at school, and there's like a Holloway contingency there in the Coast Guard, kind of breeding the Holloway buddies. You got to give shout outs to your brothers while you're on here, dude.
Well, my sister was the first one to go to the academy, so she kind of paved the way. She was class of 2012, and then there was a year overlap when I was there, and she was a senior. And then my brother Mitch was the class below me, and then Max was, I think 2019 is what it's either 2019 or I'm sorry, no, 2020, because he graduated in my living room during COVID. So, Oh yeah. So
I feel bad for that man, for that whole thing. Anybody who went to college and graduated in the year 2020, I feel awful for you, missing out on like senior sports, the full graduation, like aura, man, it's like super, super brutal.
Yeah, I think, and you kind of look at the NCAA landscape now, it's 2025, and you still have some kids that are, they have some eligibility from COVID year. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it was maybe for some of those kids, it was a blessing in disguise, but for a lot of people, I think it was like a net negative, unfortunately.
Yeah, what's that guy that just went? Is it Stetson Bennett that just went to like the U and is now going to play in his like 8th year? He's like 29 playing like college football.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You always have like somebody who's a little bit too old, you know what I mean, to be on a team with a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
The 8th year grad student. Yeah, the rules are getting crazy though, because they created like gray shirt, red shirt, and then like this other program, and now you can go to community college and it doesn't count for anything either. So it's like, I think like the youngest person, let's say in collegiate sports, is going to be like 18. They just finished high school, and the oldest, like by the numbers, they could do like 8 years of that. So essentially they're like 26. So the development of like those two like people is so large that any like Division I program, like Alabama's not going to take anybody straight out of school unless they're an absolute freak. Not that they don't do that already anyway, but yeah,
exactly.
It's a wild west out there.
So
we actually reconnected down at High Rocks, Miami. Talk to me about like what possessed you to do that, because I feel like it takes a special person, and I'm a special type of crazy myself to be doing that as well. But tell me, like, what made you want to do that? Partner up with a buddy to go and make that thing happen.
Yeah. So when we first moved down here, I met a mutual friend basically at the gym, and we started going to the same gym. And he just kind of said, "Hey, you're kind of decent at this training thing. Like, do you want to sign up for a High Rocks? He had to explain to me what High Rocks was because I had no idea. And he was like, there's one down in Miami. If you want to do a partners one. I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? And it kind of got me back into the whole, I would call it like not hybrid athlete training or anything, but, sled pushes, sled pulls, all the stuff that High Rocks, has in for it, the wall balls, lunges, all sorts of stuff. And it kind of got us, on a little bit of a training regimen there. And it was his goal to finish. And we did, I thought it was very fun. And unfortunately, I've kind of going to have to scratch the itch because I think I'm looking for one that I'm going to have to do solo now. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, maybe I could do better.
I like to say you can call it hybrid training. You can use the buzzword, and really all that just means you're an average lifter and a shitty runner.
100%, 100%. Yeah, you should have seen my running this morning. It was very subpar, but hey, we still get out, we still do it.
Yeah, ironically enough, I think that when I was training for my first one, I focused a lot on like the stations. So like I'm doing like sled pushes and pulls and skis and rows and all these things, which those are fun. Like that's like the fun part of it.
The 100%
part of it is the run. The running, which is like 90% of the race. So
yeah.
When I finished my first one, I started getting obviously flooded on all social media platforms for people's advice, and everyone literally is just like, just run more.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, I think I saw one of the best ones that I saw. It said, the best training for High Rocks, do these 5 things: run, 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 and run, because that's the only way to really knock down your time. I mean, I guess for some of these very slim runners, it's probably more advantageous to, work on the sled push and pull and stuff. But I mean, for, someone like you and me, we're probably 200 plus pounds. We could move that weight, right? It's moving the weight while you're chugging along.
That's right.
Running on the outside of the track. And you're kind of saying, yeah, I really wish I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, and people, naturally are going to gravitate to the thing that they're more comfortable with too, right? So like if you're
100%.
Someone who's comfortable lifting in the gym and you don't like running as much, then you probably need to lean into the thing that makes you a little bit uncomfy to be successful.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Dude, tell me a little bit.
It helps make you better.
Oh, for sure. Tell me a little bit about your the real father figure, the start of this thing. I see you repping the t-shirt. It's awesome, by the way.
We got the new merch.
Yep. Yeah. I want to know, like, 1, what is it? 2, what made you start it? And then 3, kind of what's the vision for you kind of moving forward with it? So hit me.
Yeah, so 3 will probably be the hardest one to answer. But what is it? I mean, it's literally just in, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I just started on TikTok, by the way. Just social media, just I guess a presence, I would just call it. I go by, real father figure. I don't introduce myself that way to anybody on the street, by the way. So if you're wondering if I go by the surname at all, I don't. But it is just, I guess this will probably answer question number 2 a little bit more, is when we first had our son, I kind of just was sitting back and I was thinking, I don't know, I just had something that kind of sparked in me to want to do a little bit more with my life, because I wanted to be like a really good example for him. And I just kind of thought, hey, what are some of my strengths? And I really, really was kind of getting involved in the fitness industry a little bit. I had just started coaching at a gym up in DC, which was awesome. And I had a really good experience with that. And so I just kind of thought to myself, okay, well, if I am going to be a good example for my kid, like I got to lay the groundwork of being a good example for everyone else as well, So it just kind of started as just a thought of just be a positive presence online. I think it's kind of hard to find people who are very genuine online. People, I mean, it is what it is. People are selling a lot of stuff on Instagram, on social media. And it's a lot of fluff. And I just kind of wanted to be just a voice of positivity of like, here's what it really entails if you want to, get your body right and be a good example for your kids as well. So I guess all encompassing, that's kind of how it started. I've been running it for a little over 2 years now. It's grown. I feel like I've hit a little bit of a plateau. Social media is just kind of it is a game within itself, because you can have a really good message, but on social media you are constantly in battle with people's attention, because that's what social media is there for, and that's what the platforms really thrive on, and that's what they will promote. So I don't really post anything that goes viral, but I always just try to post things that are going to be useful to those that want to see it. So long story short, that's where we're at right now.
Nice. And what's the vision for the future? What do you think you're going to try and take it?
Yeah. So the vision for the future, I mean, just keep the social media presence, obviously. Right. But I think I want to likely start getting into coaching again, because I really miss it. I actually coach my mother-in-law and with my backyard set up a couple times a week and stuff like that. So I always tell my wife that my best joke is that, my niche is for dads and for fathers, but I'm out here, coaching women. Those are my only clients, which is funny. But it is what it is. I mean, I really do enjoy coaching. So that's one thing that I want to get my feet back into, probably a little bit after we have baby number 2 here.
Nice, man.
And then, just maintaining a positive presence, right? Like if it's not going to provide value to others, like I just don't want to do it. But I do feel like if you're not putting yourself out there and being a little bit vulnerable, you're never going to be a man in the arena. Right. I mean, I'm just kind of showing like kind of what it takes on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I think a couple things from that. Social media totally is a game. And I'm like awful with it. I think that we try to like not play. I think I like to like try and not play the game. It's like a post and ghost game of like, it's literally just for people that rock with our stuff and our message and whatever 100%. That becomes. And it's funny, like I'll sit back and, you see a video that somebody throws up there that goes quote unquote viral. And they got like 1 million people like watching this video. And something you throw up maybe has like 1,000 people watch it. And I like try to remove myself from that and look at like the big picture. And I was like, could you imagine like 1,000 people in your house, like talking to you or like looking at you doing something, like putting it in perspective of like what is real and tangible. And not to mention like most likely those 1,000 people like rock with you, like they're like somebody who like really appreciates the things that you're doing. It's a real genuine connection. It's something that you can't buy. And I hate to say it, but like we're not like hot girls that are able to just like throw up some clickbait stuff of like
you're us not putting on the booty shorts over there, Blaze.
Right. You're not putting the booty shorts out there. I'm telling you, but it's not the same. Like women aren't as gross as men are, in that way.
Oh, 100%.
So I think
could not agree more with you on that.
Yeah. So I think like you have to lean into that message also. And not to mention like you and I aren't sitting there like taking performance enhancing drugs to push a message either. Right. It's like, hey, this is the reality. We don't even put filters on stuff that we post, which is like, right. Or edit anything. It's literally like it's shot with a cell phone 98% of the time. Sitting there in the corner and you're talking to it or you're recording a movement or you're throwing things together to help. And it's just funny how you nail the nail on the head. And I think that social media starts to become this thing, this beast of like, then you start like comparing things that you're doing to so-and-so and success and all this other stuff. And it's like, the other thing that I think is funny is some of the people that have millions of people watching their stuff are like broke and living at home. And they're like, not like, that is their reality is like that. This is a persona and somebody that they embody. And then when they're out and home, like maybe they're like socially awkward. Maybe they like live with their parents and they can't like have somebody come over to their house and like go on a date because like they're embarrassed of that. So it's people are showing you and curating like what they want you to see versus like what the true reality is. And I think, you know, I say it all the time. I train in my garage 98% of the time. And it's like, it's set up. It's a little grungy. There's, you know, a flags in there. Sometimes it's 98 degrees.
But isn't that the best though?
Yeah,
isn't that the best?
Yeah.
I mean, getting a workout at your house is just like, I mean, there's so many great things to say about that. You know what I mean? Because it's right there all the time. And I'm a firm advocate of that. That's huge.
Yeah. And I think too, kind of this rolls in really well into another question I kind of want to ask of like, you know, coaching. When you get into coaching and doing that stuff, one, I think it takes a special type of person to do that. So I'm glad that you see eye to eye in that too. I think that you have a good message that can help other people. But tell me a little bit about like the draw to that, and then also like what are you seeing from, you know, your social media presence the last couple of years, and then also when you're in DC doing the coaching thing in person, like are you working individually with groups? What are some challenges that they face or you face? Because I know like I don't have kids right now. Hopefully someday that's something that I want to embark in, and you know, like speaking to that message of like, hey, as a parent, you're not gonna have enough time. I saw your post the other day about it. It's like not having enough time, you know, food, all these kinds of things that can really like snowball and push somebody into being like waking up one day, looking in the mirror and being like, I don't even know who's there anymore because they don't recognize like the person that's looking back at them. So tell me a little bit about your draw to coaching and then some challenges that you've had yourself or seen in other people.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot to unpack there, but I think in terms of coaching, I really enjoy just providing value to others, right? I think that is probably within both of our cores, probably majority of the people that we know, like in the Coast Guard, that's what we value is helping out others. There are unfortunately a lot of people that simply don't know, you know, how to get started or what to do or how to move basically, right? So basic functionality is a huge one. But I think just coaching, the draw to me is just to keep interacting with people and keep trying to, you know, drive people to be their best self. I mean, there's nothing better than watching somebody grow in the gym and accomplish their goals and that you've helped them along the way. I mean, and I would never take any credit because as you and I both know, who's actually the one that's making those changes positively? It's the person themselves. And when they finally realize that, it's awesome. You know, there's nothing that compares. That, you know, they have always been the own obstacle to their problems, and they are the ones who can get them their own selves in a straight line, you know? So I think that's the overall, I mean, it's a little bit, you know, too wordy there as in terms of what the draw is for coaching. So yeah, I definitely want to get back into that a little bit more. Again, we'll see when we can jump into it after baby number 2 gets here, but hopefully pretty quick. And then obviously my niche is around fathers, right? And I'm not going to pretend like I'm the number one expert because, you know, I have a 2-year-old. We're about to have a baby and stuff, but I just really believe that there's a leadership aspect that, you know, fathers should, you know, aspire to reach a standard of, right? And how do we achieve that? Number one, I think, is just by setting a really, really good, solid example for the entire household. And that, in my opinion, should start with at least being a positive example in your fitness and your overall health. I don't think that people need to be like jacked or, you know, have a 6-pack walking around all the time. But I do think that there does need to be some sort of standard because if you look like you are a disciplined person, you're probably going to put off that persona, right? And you're probably going to give off those vibes. And you know what? Your kids are watching every single thing that you are doing, and you will be a very strong presence for those kids, right? So I firmly believe in that.
Difficulties.
And I think that is kind of why I have chosen that niche. And obviously it's very relatable because I am a dad myself, right? And I don't sit here to pretend to know all the answers, but you know, I do share some of the trials and tribulations that I've been through.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. My bad.
No, you're good, man. Like the best part is that we can just skip the technical difficulties, and I know exactly where you were at in your thought, which was being kind of like a leader in the household and wanting to set a really good example. So keep going with that thought. I want to continue to hear about like what the kind of vision is for that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean that's obviously my niche, right? Because I am a dad, and I am a firm believer in just leading by example. And I think that there are a lot of dads, fathers out there. I'm not dogging on anybody, but I do believe that you can set a really awesome foundation by just being physically fit. You know, if you are putting off the vibe that you are a disciplined leader in the household, I'm sure that physical fitness is going to be a large, or at least somewhat of an aspect to that, right? There's a reason why masculinity is masculinity and femininity is femininity. And, you know, there's a difference between the way that mothers and fathers conduct child raising, right? And I do think that fathers just need to be more leaders. And that's kind of the bottom line. Not that mothers cannot be. I am not, you know, saying anything like that. I just think that there needs to be a higher standard. I think, you know, one, I guess, example that I could point out is there was that craze, and maybe it's still kind of sticking around, of the dad bod, right? In my personal opinion, I think that the dad bod is just one of those things that is just a lowering of standards. And I just don't believe in that. I think that, you know, dad should probably not try to look sloppy and, you know, be overweight. Just because you have kids doesn't mean that your life is over. In my opinion, I feel like your life has just begun, you know, because you're taking on super responsibility roles that you've never imagined. And the growth that you're seeing as a father, especially initially, is unreal. So, you know, physical fitness is something that, you know, will ground you. It's going to make you a better person overall. I truly believe that. It's going to mentally, that's one of the biggest aspects. It will mentally keep you sharp and in shape. And it's just overall going to inject itself into every single other aspect of your life. Because if you are disciplined enough to be physically fit, then you're probably going to be disciplined enough to, you know, raise your kids right, be there for them, be able to prioritize your work versus your home life balance. You're going to be able to, you know, be level headed, especially when the going gets tough in life. And everyone has problems. And one of the best ways to deal with it is to, you know, just be on a training regimen or some sort of physical fitness regimen where you can eliminate some of the stress and feel a little bit of the weight of the world lift off your shoulders and just be a leader, because that's what we need.
Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of stuff there of, like, you know, being mentally tough and having a foundation of things that you do on a day-to-day basis that help, one, make you a little bit uncomfortable, which is probably valid for people and helpful. Two, probably delaying a little bit of gratification in that, like, this is something that's hard and you may not see the benefits right away, but you will in turn see that. And that's probably goes, and again, speaking out of term here because I don't have kids, but that probably goes the same way with raising kids. Like, it might not be the immediate effect of the thing that you say, do, or the way that you conduct yourself, but over time, that compounding effect of the way that you're able to kind of lead and be there has to be a positive impact, and then lead to you know, a better contributor to society, somebody who's more independent, kind of all those things that you want in a kid, to be able to kind of make that transition from childhood to adulthood. And, you know, the best metric for a parent I've got to imagine is like they become 18, become a adult, and they don't necessarily need you. They obviously, you want them to be in your life and whatnot, but I feel like that's probably a tough transition for people to go from kid needing you to not needing you, and then kind of progressing along there too. So yeah, I think like that, yeah, that mental toughness, that ability to kind of stick to a goal. I agree. I think the dad bod is dead. Like, I think, at the end of the day, like, nobody wants to not look good naked. Like, that is like a fundamental fact of like human development. One, for like procreation and continuing of like, the human race and species. Like, there's never going to be a person that's like, oh, that dude's shredded, I don't want to look like them. Or that woman is super fit, like, I don't want to look. Everybody, if they're being honest with themselves, will see that. And that's the reason why people on social media that are on steroids or showing their body off, that's why people watch. I mean, they watch because they're like some facet of like, hey, I'm envious, or I want to be like this person. And that's why some of those people who are either genetically gifted or enhanced or all these things are getting to work with people, because they're like, you can look this way, and they're breaking their process down to be able to show that. And I think like,
right.
How important is it to show like the real of that thing, which is, everybody wants that. Let's acknowledge and feel good about it. And then the real like next tier, I think, once we acknowledge that, to figure out a way to continue, is like realizing that your goal needs to not just be vanity driven. I think vanity helps get you in the door, but like the second that you have a kid and you see this thing of like, this is my why, then you get those lasting effects, because you're not in love with the end goal anymore. Like, you're involved in the process. And I think it's just so important to be like, hey, my end goal is to be a role model, and that you can't turn that off. It's not like a fad diet where you're like, I'm going keto for 90 days to see how much weight I can lose, or hey, I'm going to do this workout challenge. It's like, no, this is like for the long haul. And that's what's so hard about fitness and health and wellness, is you're selling this thing for life, dude. Like, Father 100%. Father Time's undefeated, bro. Like, everybody's gonna eventually like die, and all these things are going to occur. Your body's going to deteriorate and all this stuff. But like, I'll be damned if I'm not the one dancing at my 80th birthday party. Like, I don't want to be the person sitting 100%. There watching everybody else have fun and be the one that's on the sidelines. And a lot of times people are waiting until it's too late to make a change. And that's the part that I want to, incentivize, if anybody who's listening and anybody who ends up working with you or that, like, you got to do it now. And what's the saying? It's like, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is right now. Dude,
like, my one of my favorite sayings is, there's no better time than the present. You're never going to be younger than you are right now. Like, anybody can find an excuse, but again, those are just excuses. I kind of go back to, when the person wants to make a change, they will, because they're going to find a way. It's going to finally click. And it's awesome to be there as a coach to help them along that path, and I would also draw parallels, because, I've listened to a few of the things that you've really honed in on, where, your niche is what? It's more like broad athletics, right? In order to maintain like broad athleticism.
Yeah, dude. I want to play beer league sports forever, man.
Oh, dude, 100%. Yeah. And that's fun. That's awesome. And everyone should be doing that. But what I was going to draw parallels from is like, yeah, my niche is trying to relate to dads, right? Yours, athletes. There's people in all sorts of niches. But the bottom line is, all of those niches are saying and should be saying the same things, because it doesn't matter if you're a guy, a girl. Doesn't matter what your age is, at the end of the day, it's going to boil down to, you got to move. That's primary. You got to move. You got to move some way, right? And then you got to, watch what you're eating. You have to eat right. And those two things right there, yes, simplify it down to two things, but they are very complicated, and especially complicated when you don't actually know what you're doing. You get a lot of emotions involved as well. And I just think that, you know, those two core concepts, they are across the landscape. They are extremely relatable to everybody.
Yeah, and you think about too, like we talked a bit before about, you know, the amount of information that's out there. Social media has done that. It's been really great for some things, like showing people the path, and if you're tuning in correctly. But I think like the paralysis by analysis of all this information has made, and you know, even AI, like, dude, realistically, like if you want to go and you want to start moving and training and all these things, you could build your own program. You could be like, hey, Chat GPT, write me a 5-day split that does X, Y, or Z. I'm in and out of the gym in 30 minutes. And you know what? If you stuck to that program and then you ate relatively well, you probably would be super well off. The problem, I think,
100%.
becomes like everybody's got paralysis by analysis. There's so many options. There's so much information that people are like, I don't know what to do, because you're getting one person saying cold plunging is good, another person that's saying it's bad. You're getting one person say you should eat keto, one person says you need to eat a ton of carbs to fuel your workouts. Like you're getting all this stuff and you don't know how to parse through it from people that either are uneducated or not, and two, you're taking information from somebody who it's worked for them but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. And that's like, you know, how do you coach people? It's like you got to figure out what works for that individual person, things that they love, they value, they enjoy. And the human connection piece is so big too. Like if you don't have a community of people around you that are supporting you, if you don't have a coach that's holding you accountable, if you're not able to call them and talk to them and be like, hey dude, like I fell off the wagon this weekend, like I don't know what I'm doing, like help me get back on track, then a lot of times it's gonna fall off. Like, dude, I'm a coach with 4 coaches. I got business coaches, I got movement coaches, I got, you know, life coaches, mentors, all these things. And I don't think that I'd be here where I am, like developmentally in business and life and just like the way that I view the world without those people and leaning into those partnerships and relationships. And I think like if you are not somebody who thinks that you need help, you're probably naive to the fact of the things that you don't know. And I'm sure you feel that way too, in most aspects, and probably parenthood too, man. Jeez Louise, like I am pretty far off, I think, from kids, like maybe right now, maybe in the next like 3 to 5 years, but like I'm reading like a book about like parenthood. I'm like, dude, I don't know much at all about this, like keeping a human being alive, you know, like think about that. Like it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. Like you know, you can read books all you want, but until you get thrown into the fire, you know, it's just you're going to find your own experience. That's why I don't pretend to be like a parenting expert by any means, right? But the one thing I can tell you is like when you do become a parent, your kid is watching you all the time, all the time. And they are listening to the things that you say too, especially if bad words come out of your mouth. You know, they will repeat that. But you know, when kids are little, they're like sponges, man. They are just absorbing so much information every day, and all of it is new. But they can retain so much. It's wild. But the number one thing is to be the example, because if you already know your kid is watching everything that you're doing, setting the example, you know, it should be paramount. You know, that should be your why. You know what I mean? And it's my why. I'm hoping that it's the why for other people as well. You know, and those are some of the emotional appeals that I try to draw on. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, dude, you've been hitting the nail on the head with everything social media wise. I mean, there is a lot of information out there, a lot of counter information as well. You know, like a scientific study that showed X, but yet Y, it seems to be the truth. You know what I mean? And I think especially nowadays, I not to like get political or anything, but people have a heightened sense of like trust in some of the things that they hear just because of COVID. You know what I mean? I think that kind of reset people's mindset on like, you know, maybe I need to look into X, Y, or Z. You know what I mean? And I think fitness in general, you're probably flooded on your Instagram page with a bunch of fitness stuff, but most people don't. They don't have that, you know. But I mean, yes, they aspire to have like a good looking body, but you know, their interests are catered on that social media site, you know. So being able to break through with a positive message and core concepts, I feel like are like that's kind of the bread and butter that I try to abide by and just provide value.
Yeah. And I think too, like keeping things simple, right? Like I don't, the funniest thing ever is like I'm going through this nutrition, quick backstory. I'm going through a nutrition certification. And they call it a master nutrition coach, right? And realistically, I don't think you're ever a master at anything. I think I've said that a number of times here and to people that I know about it. But they'll break down like all this technical information for about 20 minutes maybe in this course. And they're like, you know what, this is all great information to know. And like maybe somebody is going to one day like want to know about the Krebs cycle and how you create ATP. But realistically, people are like, dude, how do I lose 10 pounds? Like, what do I need to do? And that's all nutritional habit. That's all like how to stay on a goal, how to remain motivated, how to do all those things. And that right there is coaching. Like, you don't need to be somebody who has some crazy, I think probably helped build legitimacy for yourself. And me personally has helped that as well. But like, you don't need a nutrition certification to go out and do that and teach and preach those simple things of shop on the outside of the grocery store. Super simple. Find ways that you can have things that are easy, move and doing things that you like, right? Like, geez Louise, if you're somebody who hates training and lifting weights, I'll say you probably should try and find a way to do it in a way that you enjoy. But like, if you're running and you love it, go run a couple of times a week. Go do the 100%. Thing that gives you energy and makes you better, because when you're better for all the people around you too, right? Like, that's just so important.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all encompassing. I mean, yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head too, because I mean, you know, you could go on social media and you could get guys on there, you know, trying to argue about like what's the best angle for a tricep extension or some random thing like that. You know, it's flooded with a bunch of stuff that is just nonsense. But as a coach, I agree with you. Like you could go on ChatGPT right now, Grok, whatever AI platform, and you can get the layout of, hey, here's exactly what you should do. Here's your nutrition plan as well. Have at it. But the connection piece, and I'm sure that, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here, is like hey, you know, you said that you kind of fell off the wagon this weekend. Like, hey, what are we doing to ensure that we're not going to be doing that again to make a cascading effect right now? You know, like ChatGPT isn't going to text you. It's not going to check in with you. It's only when you check in with it. You know, it is a robot. It's just going to provide you information. But the accountability piece right there, the human emotion, the connection, that's what you as a coach, that's what you provide. You know what I mean? And that's, I feel like, crucial. It's essential.
Yeah, and the ability to relate, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't, my favorite one is I don't eat the donut, dude. Like, that life is too damn short to not have something that you enjoy and that you love and that you like. I have beers with friends. Like there's 100%. The yin to the yang. You have to find your balance and the thing that matters. And you know what? Really, it's about choice and consequence. Here's the reality. If you're going to go do a bodybuilding show, you're going to have to be laser focused and locked in for however long your prep period is to get on stage and not make a fool out of yourself and show up your best. If that's not something that is your goal, like, why are you measuring food all the time? Like, what do you want to look like? Is it, for me personally, I don't really want to do a bodybuilding show because I enjoy spending quality time with friends, being able to go out to eat and not worry so much about the thing that I'm ordering or whatever the thing becomes. And you know what? Like, bodybuilders, the way that they train, to me, is super boring. Like, they're just doing straight sets. You're hypertrophy training. You're doing a million tricep extensions because your triceps aren't big enough. And then you're on this crazy like plan, very, very scripted. It's not for me. I like moving. I like to be athletic. I like to have really, really good mobility so that I can sit in the chair flying an aircraft and then get out and not have my lower back explode. So I'm moving for like life instead of for an event and for a show. And I think that you still.
I'm kind of hearing that you like to be a hybrid athlete.
Oh yeah, yeah. Average lifter, shitty runner, right? But realistically, like, how do you want to move? You know, and for most people, you probably don't want to get on stage and do that and flex in a bikini or a swimsuit. And maybe you do, and that's great also, but like you can still look really, really good and still be able to have those choices where you do those things. And maybe you're not drinking a beer every single night, right? Like there's obviously guardrails that you'll have to find and establish for yourself. But if you can make the one small shift and start by doing something, like I think you can start really, really hammering that home and making the progress that you want to make, you know?
Yep, exactly. And in any facet of life, like you got to find balance is essentially, what you're saying. Regardless of if it's you in your position, you were saying you don't have kids yet, but maybe on the horizon, like at some point in time, right? Like that's a great time for someone to get in shape, before you have kids. Because after you have kids, you're going to find that your time is going to be it's going to be a little bit less free. Let's call it, you know what I mean? But and then along the trajectory of a lifetime, like you kind of think like habits, good, healthy habits will stack up over time. Cause you're talking about dancing at your birthday party when you're 80. Well, I mean, bad habits stack up over time too. I mean, if you have bad habits that stack up years and years and years, and you've kind of been sitting on your ass for forever and not really, watching what you're eating at all, and you just kind of go off the guardrails, well, I mean, you're going to reap those consequences of those decisions, right? And you maybe not make it to 80, right? I mean, 80 is like, that's a long life. But being able to move really well at 80, that's a different story in of itself. So I think you're on the right track for sure. And that's a great, powerful message. I mean, it applies to everybody, You could be 65 right now and you could be out of shape. And I'm telling you, these same principles, when applied to a 65-year-old, are still going to work. And it doesn't matter if it's a man, woman, it doesn't matter. It's moving and nutrition. Those are the two things, and finding a balance, being able to live life.
Yeah. And I think like if you can objectively, I think really hammer down your why, I think is key too. Right. And I think, as I look back over the past couple of years, I think it really clicked for me when I moved out here to California. And I got to spend more time with my grandparents. My mother's side grandparents live about 2.5 hours away. So we've been out there to visit them a ton. My grandfather is 85, and he re-roofed his house like 2 years ago and plays basketball with 20-year-olds. And he did those things like by himself. And he still moves. Yeah, and by the way, it's not just he plays basketball and he's like sitting there and running like in like the midcourt. He's the first one to break away on a breakaway and like scores easy layups. And he's like doesn't even look tired when he goes and plays. And it's because he's continued to move. That's wild. He's continued to move and continue to play for his entire life. And contrarily, his partner, my grandmother, I love her to death, but she's never been into movement. She's never really found something that she truly enjoys. And she's the one that had double knee replacements and has issues getting up and down off of the stairs. And I mean, they're considering like moving their home that they've been in for like 50 years because she's got to go upstairs whenever they get back home from the grocery store. And like, that is a challenge. Yeah. And it's like, hey, you get to pave the way. And when I start like looking at this stuff objectively, I'm like, I want to help people move like that because that's how I want to move. I want to be that person. And he gets to play basketball with not just grandchildren, which I am. He gets to play basketball with great grandchildren, which is like, holy shit. You want to talk about like the health and the standard and holding that line of like eating well, moving frequently and doing those things. Like that is what I think life should be about, because you can never get those memories back. You can't get the time back. But for me personally, like love language wise, like quality time is the only thing that really matters to me. And that is exactly how I want to like live when I'm 85, Yeah,
man, that's the pinnacle right there. Yeah. Grandfather sounds like a good man,
dude. Yeah, he's been killing it for forever. Shout out to Merle. He actually has a tagline when he plays basketball because he shoots a mid-range jump shot and they call it the Pearl, and his name is Merle. So Merle the Pearl shooting, and it's just like, it's clean. The one from like 15 feet is like just like absolutely lights out. He shoots lights out from the baseline. It's awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I mean, Yeah, I remember my grandpa made it to about 99, and he used to tell me basketball stories about how after every point that was scored, they went back into the center to tip. You know what I mean? Like that's how far back, basketball that his knowledge went. But yeah, I mean, longevity, man. I mean, I'm telling you, it just stacks up over time. You gotta get a little bit uncomfortable, try to stay within the realm of the stuff that you do like, and then just try to expand and don't expect perfection. I think one thing too that you probably hone in on is like, look, if you're coming to me as a coach and you're expecting results in 30 days, because that seems to be like the marketing ploy now. It's like, okay, well, how long have you not been doing stuff? And the answer is years, right? Because people develop bad habits over years, over time. And to expect for those bad habits to just switch off and then and then you just come out looking like a Greek god in 30 days, like that's not realistic at all. So changing people's expectations of what to expect when you finally start going down that path, it's incremental change, but it's worth it in the long run. It is so worth it. And I always try to draw it back to just being a parent. It's worth it to show your kid that you are disciplined enough to stick with it over the long haul. It's a great reminder of your why.
Yeah, and you talked before too about like routine and habit and how important those things become. Like, I'm curious too for yourself. What do you have, like specific routine or habit? Like maybe it's a morning routine, maybe it's something that like you kind of check in with after a trip where things are super hectic. Like, do you have something that kind of we'll say like grounds you, whether that's a practice, reading, it can be training, it can be a certain time of day where it's kind of game time, a cup of coffee. Like what's your kind of thing?
Yeah, I view training as like my luxury of the day, right? And I pretty much a lot up to an hour, but normally it's not that long, like maybe 30-40 minutes on a lot of days. And
let it be
I
known,
pretty much
people.
start off my morning.
Gordy's jacked, and he works out for 30 to 40 minutes. Let it be known, dude. You don't need 3 hours in there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Well, I'm not that jacked. We still got goals to attain. No, just kidding. I appreciate that. But I can do that because I've developed those habits. I know like where I can find efficiency, especially with like compound movements and stuff, and the kind of work that I want to put in on a daily basis and what I'm trying to achieve. But pretty much it's in the morning. I go work out, and like that's the me time. That's my reflection time. I normally just throw on a podcast and I let it rip. Even when I'm just lifting, it's the same thing. I'm trying to expand my mind a little bit, listening to somebody, and then at the same time I am expanding myself. I'm trying to grow, and especially on a run. I mean, dude, I hate running. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thoroughly hate it, but I've gotten a little bit better. Why? Because I've stuck it out. I've been running more. And lo and behold, if you start doing stuff a little bit more, you're gonna get better at it. You're gonna find efficiencies, and that's what I'm trying to do with running. So I've incorporated that into my training, and I feel better because of it. So I think back when I was at the academy, this is a little bit of a tangent there, but back when I was at the academy, my freshman year, after swap summer, I think I weighed like, I don't know, like maybe $180, $185. I'm 6'2", 6'3", right? So like I was kind of a string bean after swap summer, and dude, I put on so much weight my freshman year, toward the end of my freshman year, and I had shoulder surgery, and I was eating like shit. I mean, I put on probably close to 60 or 70 pounds in a calendar year, which is nuts. I mean, but it's because I was completely out of control. You know what I mean? I had just turned 21 as well, so binge drinking, you gotta love that. Eating like shit, and those, I mean, just bad habits we're developing over time. So then, we come back sophomore year to try to do the physical fitness test, and dude, I'm telling you, the first time that I went running for the mile and a half, I think I did like like close to 15 minutes, which is, I mean, you and I both know that's absurdly way too long, and you'd probably get like a 0 on the score, right? So I had to like really bust my ass to try to like get in shape within like a month time period, and then get ready to go. I've eventually just barely passed the PFT, so I wasn't on the remedials, and I could play football like a normal guy. But I mean, dude, it's just I didn't have a why back then that was that kept me grounded, and like now, it's very clear to me what my goals are. It's very clear to me like how I want to maintain myself, and so it's I'm not going to say that it's easy, but it's easy for me to keep that routine and keep myself grounded and accountable. Yeah. And I know that you have your morning routines too. I've seen you cold plunge in. I see you with your coffee, your protein coffee in the morning with your greens and everything. I love that.
Yeah, and I say like I don't necessarily know what the right answer is, and nobody needs to have like a 3-hour morning routine to be successful. And
you're not Ashton Hall. You're not waking up at 3:00 in the morning and then Hosh's tape and then dunking your head. And I mean, dude, that stuff. I'm just like, come on, that's not real.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you, man. I think there's a lot of things that you can kind of hone in on what you said, and one being training in the morning. Geez Louise, if you can knock out the hardest thing, we'll say physically hardest thing that you have to do before the sun comes up or before other people are there bugging you, like talk about just a win on your day, like a mental win.
100%.
That's like the whole reason behind the Making Your Bed book that the former admiral, I forget his name, William something, wrote.
Oh yeah.
To where they're basically just talking about like, hey, you're completing something, you're finishing a task, and then you're kind of rolling on in your day. And for me, contrary to popular belief, I think the cold plunge is the hardest thing that I have to do in a day. Like if you're gonna get in cold water,
how's that contrary?
Yeah, well,
I mean, sticking yourself, your entire body into freezing cold water, like nobody wants to do that.
No, yeah, that is probably the hardest thing that I have to do in a day is get in there for the 2 minutes that I do most days, and I'm not even perfect. There are some days where it doesn't line up, or it happens to where like I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do it later on in the day, or sometimes I end up missing days, and that happens too. But if I'm going in there, I'm doing my 2 minutes in the morning, and then I have like a nice warm cup of coffee. And for me, like I like to read and write in the morning and at night. I think for me that has like grounded my routine a lot and been able to help me be a little bit more introspective. Reading, I like to do like a nonfiction in the morning and a fiction at night, because one wakes me up and makes me motivated, and the other one kind of puts me to sleep. So take that for what it's worth. It doesn't work for everybody, for sure. My wife actually really loves fiction, and then she's the type that'll like stay up and read for like 2 hours if the book is good. But I'm like the opposite.
Dude, I am unfortunately the same way. Yeah, and I did that recently a couple of weeks ago where I just like stayed up until 1:00 in the morning. I had to finish this book, but like, did I really have to finish the book? No, that's just a lack of self-control on my part. You know what I mean?
Which again, like know thyself, right? Like if she read nonfiction at night, she's out in 10 minutes, so like we're like completely opposite in that. But the nice part is like when I've tested like, hey, this works, this doesn't. And then when I do that thing and I do my plunge, or at least just have the coffee and read and write, like it sets my day on a path of like, this is where I want to go. And I'm able to ask the question, like at the end of the day, like how will I know this was successful? And today, for example, it's like recording a podcast with you, popping on and chatting with another buddy, Chris, later on today, going into work. I finished my workout early this morning. I'm going to go in and stand duty tonight at work and stay there and do that thing too. But like, I know when I go to bed tonight, like what makes that day successful. And it was like, I did these things and I was able to have this personal reflection time. I was able to do this and help grow working on and working in the business, and then going over to hopefully fly a plane later tonight and then hone that skill. Because really, flying planes is very, very similar to training and coaching. And like you never are going to know everything. It's a profession. It's one of those things that like being a doctor or a lawyer, like there's always going to be something else to learn and help you grow. And I think that's why I'm personally drawn to that, because I can't ever be a true master of those things, because you're just going to continue to get better over time. So I just wanted to say thanks again for coming on. I know we're kind of getting cut off like mid thought and whatnot, but I feel like I could also sit here and chat with you all day about these things. I'm super excited for you to continue to look and grow your page. I'm going to leave all your social media handles and all this stuff here in the show notes. Feel free to share the episode with anybody that you want. And then do you want to give anybody like a last little message or shout out your pages yourself as well here and spell them out so people know where to find you?
Yeah, I go by Real Father Figure on Instagram and TikTok, and similar handle on Twitter as well. But honestly, just thanks for having me on. First of all, it's a very professionally done podcast. Sorry for being a little wordy there, but I think the main points were all hit, which is, move more, find that nutrition. Definitely seek a coach like Blaze if you're questioning whether or not to do it. I would just say do it. Jump right on in, and it's going to help you get better. It's going to help you, get to where you want to be in life. And your kids are always watching. That's the last thing I want to leave is your kids are always watching. So you might as well give them a great example to see.
Yeah, right on, man. Well, I'll leave all your stuff here in the show notes so people can find you. Just don't be a weirdo if you reach out to Gordy about his own coaching that we're gonna soft launch / hard launch right now. So he'll know that's coming.
I appreciate
that. Yeah, that's man. Right. That's the little push. No, that's me giving you the little push right there.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Blaze. And honestly, all your platforms are really well done, really professionally made. I love that, and you're doing some really good things. So keep it up. I don't believe that fitness is a especially from like a coaching or just an online presence aspect. I don't think it's a zero-sum game. So obviously, I fully support everything that you're doing, and I love your message, and I love all the things that you guys are putting out. So keep it up. If you need any help, let me know, because I'm here for you. So
thanks, man.
Keep crushing it, man.
Same goes to you guys. Great. Yeah, and we will chat soon. So thank you guys for tuning in, and remember, you don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. We'll see you guys next time.
You got it right.